Hi guys, good morning all of you. Welcome to Cynthia IAS. Cynthia IAS is a recommended and top-notch institute in India under the guidance of SP Sitarehind. Today I am going to take lecture Administrative Ethics. Administrative ethics is an important factor for the student to understand it. Let's begin. Today I am getting late, so I am extremely very sorry for it. Please forgive me all of you. Let's start. What is administrative ethics? Administrative ethics. What is administrative ethics? Please just try to understand what is administrative ethics. Administrative ethics is a branch of ethics is a administrative ethics is a branch of applied ethics. Administrative ethics is a branch of applied ethics that examines ethical principle ethical that examine ethical principle and moral or ethical problems or ethical problems or ethical problems that arises in the that arises in the field of field of public administrative field of public administration ADMI field of public administrations. Next, it is related to the it is related to the it is related to the broader field of broader it is related to the field of broader field of broader field of professional ethics. Professional ethics and deals with the and deals with the and deals with the questions of values, deals with the questions of value, deals with the questions of values, conscious and moral. Conscious and moral. Conscious and moral. Moral judgment. Conscious and moral judgment as they apply to public service. As they apply to public service. Public service. Next point. The philosophical basis of the philosophical basis the philosophical the philosophical basis the philosophical basis of administrative ethics administrative ethics administrative ethics is the application of moral is the application of moral principles moral principles and ethical standard to the ethical standard to the to the decision making to the decision making to the decision making process of public process of public process of public administration process of public administration process of public administrator public administ process of public administrator next this involve examining next point Mohit AC This involve this involve examining the ethical application the ethical implication of decision related to use of public resource to use of public resource to use of public resource the exercise public authority the exercise of public authority the exercise of public authority the implementation of public policy the implementation of public policy public policy. Next, it also involves considering the it also involves considering the more considering it also involves considering the moral implication the moral implication of the action understood. Next, action of public servant of public servant of public servants and the consequence of their consequence of their decision. Consequence of their decision. Next point. The philosophical approach to administrative ethics. The philosophical approaches to the philosophical approaches to administrative ethics ethics. Next, the philosophical approach to administrative ethics the philosophical approach to the philosophical approach to the administrative ethics administrative ethics is based on the idea that is based on the ideas idea that ethical decisions should be ethical decisions should be ethical decisions should be based on moral principle based on moral principle based on moral principle and values and values. Next, this approach seeks to answer questions such as this approach seeks to answer questions such as seeks to answer question such as point 1 such as what is right thing to do. Point 1, what is right what is right things to do in a given situation Next point, in given situation, what are the consequences of certain ideas? What are the consequences of certain action Next point, understood, Mr. Abhishek? Next point, what are the ethical implication what are the ethical implication what are the ethical implication of certain decision of certain decision. Next point. The approach also considers the implication of decision. This approach also consider the implication the implication the implication of decision on the larger society on the larger society and the environment. Next point. Next, it seeks to promote it seeks to promote the ethical values of fairness of fairness ethical values of fairness. Understood, my dear friend? Fairness, comma, justice, comma, respect to others, respect to others, and responsibility for one's action and responsibility for one's action. Next point. This approach emphasizes the need for administration the need for administrator administrators to be aware of their their ethical responsibilities. Ethical responsibilities. Ethical responsibilities to act in a manner that to act in a manner that that is considered that is considered that is consistent that is consistent sorry for it that is consistent with these principles with these principles principle. Understood? Have any problem? Next point. The two fundamental philosophical approach the two fundamental philosophical approach to administrative ethics administrative ethics administrative ethics. Point 1, deontological theory. Point 1, deontological theory, and point 2 teleological theory. Teleological theory, most important factor, try to understand this point. Deontological theory and teleological theory. This is the two fundamental philosophical approach of administrative ethics. Next point. Next point. Consensus. Consensus. Consensus is a concept intrinsic to human beings. Consensus is a concept consensus is a concept intrinsic to human beings human beings that hopes that helps then assess the morality of their action. Assess the morality of their action. Actions. Next point. Conscience may be defined as the special act of the mind conscious may be defined conscious may be defined as the special act as the special act of special act of the mind, special act of the mind that comes into beings that comes into beings when the intellect passes when the intellect passes when the intellect passes judgment on the merit of judgment judgment on the merit of on the merit of particular act particular act. Next, the basic feature of consciousness are the basic features the basic features of conscience are the basic feature of conscience are point 1, it is not a feeling, it is not a it is not a feeling. Understood? It is not a feeling or an emotion or an emotion but an intellect but an intellect an intellect but an intellect decision. Point 2. It is a practical judgment. It is a practical judgment. It is a practical judgment made with regard made with regard made with regard to the morality of specific action of a specific action specific action past, present and future. Past, present, future. Next point. It is a wider in scope. It is a wider in scope, it is a wider in scope than the law, since it helps it helps it helps interpret the law interpret the law interpret the law according to situation, according to situation, according to situation, then implement in practical, then implement it in practical, it in practical. Next point, it is a reflection of individual value, it is a reflection of individual value, it is a reflection of individual values, system influences by his education, by his education, upbringing, socialization, socialization. As such, it is not, as such, it is not rigid, not rigid, and is open to change, and is open to change, and is open to change, for better, for worse, for better, for worse, for better, for worse. Next point, although an individual, although an individual although an individual and individual conscious may be correct, may be correct from his own perspective, from his own perspective, from his own perspective. It may not be consistent, it may not be consistent consistent with the collective conscious, with the collective conscious, with the collective conscience of others, of others. Next point, the relevance of conscience becomes significant conscious help an individual helps conscious helps in an individual conscious helps an individual maintain a balance, maintain a balance between his between his rights and entitlements. On the one hand, on the one hand, and his and his duties and responsibility, duties and responsibilities, duties and responsibilities on the others, on the others. Next point, a decision influenced by a sound conscious, a decision a decision influenced by a decision influenced by a sound conscious, a sound conscience is not just confined just confined to legal prorogation prerogatives prerogatives, but it is also consistent, but it is also consistent, but it is also consistent with the comprehensive, with the comprehensive comprehensive sense of duty sense of duty and responsibility and responsibility. Responsibility. Next point, feature of administrative work culture. Features of administrative features of administrative work culture. Work culture are the basic feature of administrative work culture are the basic features. The basic features of an administrative works administrative work administrative work culture are point 1, level of discretion. Point 1, level of level of level of discretion. Level of discretion. Point to the extent to which an individual is given the extent to which an individual is given independence and autonomy and autonomy autonomy in interpreting and implementing LRR. Next, people orientation. People the extent to which larger public to which larger public interest is taken into interest larger public interest is taken into consideration in decision consideration in decision. Consideration in decision. Next point, outcome orientation. Outcome orientation. Outcome orientation. The balance between the outcome and the process. The balance between the outcome and the process to achieve these outcome to achieve these outcome. Next point, mechanism of control. Mechanism of control. Mechanism of control. The number and potency the number and potency of supervising element supervising element that regulates an administrative action Next point, sense of duty. Sense of duty. The, the extent to which an individual the extent the extent to which an individual identifies with the work with the work identifies with the work as whole as whole as a whole rather than rather than only with some of its domain, only with some of its domain. Next, recognition of merit. Recognition of merit. Recognition of merit. The extent to which enter the extent to which the extent to which the extent to which inter and enter and intra organizational and intra organizational intra intra organizational communication channel communication channel communication channels are open or restrict. Next point, communication pattern. Next, communication pattern. Communication pattern. Next, communication pattern. Feudal self-serving mindset. Feudal serve. Feudal feudal self-serving feudal self-serving mindset. Feudal self-serving mindset with the little regard with the little regard with the little regard for public concern. For public concern. Personal aspiration. Personal aspiration. Take precedence over public take precedence over public interest. Public interest. Next, problem contingency. problem contingencies. Problem contingency. Influence of administrative culture in India. Influence of administrative culture. Culture in India. Next point. Social influence on administrative culture. Societal influences. Societal influences. Societal influences on administrative culture in India. In India. Point number 1. Particularism. Deification of authority. Of authority. Next. Accommodation. Accommodation. Next point. Thanks all of you.